Welcome to this meeting of Assembly Committee on Education for the 2023 legislative session. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson.
Present.
Assemblyman De Silva. Assemblywoman Hanson.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblyman Koenig. Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. Assemblyman MacArthur.
Here.
Assemblywoman Mosca.
Here.
Assemblywoman Taylor.
Present.
Assemblywoman Thomas. Assemblywoman Torres. Chair Bilbray Axelrod.
Here, and please mark Assemblyman De Silva here as he just walked in. Okay, welcome to everyone in Carson City. We have a full house here, and those of you who are joining by video and anyone who is in Las Vegas, I see a few people. Please remember to silence your electronic devices. I'm doing that right now. Anything that makes noise, go ahead and put it on silence. When testifying, we ask that you do bring copies for the public and put them over on the table. If you are testifying, please sign in on that table and then give your business card to our secretaries so we have a good record. We do ask for courtesy and respect in our meetings. We might not always agree with each other, but that doesn't mean we can't be nice to each other. Finally, I will be limiting our bill testimony to 20-minute windows. So I will take 20 minutes in support, 20 minutes in opposition, and 20 minutes in neutral. With that, let's get started because we have a big day. 3 bills. Today we're going to hear 3. I'll begin with, as on the agenda, Assembly Bill 182, then 264, and then finally 226. I'll now open the hearing on AB 182. This measure revises provisions governing education personnel. To present this measure, we have Assemblywoman Miller, who is very familiar to this committee. Please go ahead, Ms. Miller, when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, and good afternoon to everyone in the committee. Yes, it feels good to be back, if only for today and next week. So, with that, I will go ahead and start with my bill remarks. Again, thank you so much, Madam Chair, for scheduling this, and committee members for your attention that you will give to this bill hearing. My name is Brittany Miller, and I represent Assembly District 5 in Clark County. Today, I'm presenting Assembly Bill 182, which revises provisions governing educational personnel. The bill before you today largely seeks to cement certain existing requirements in the Nevada Administrative Code and put it into statute. I believe we can all agree how important our students' learning is, and that a central component of that learning depends on the teacher in the classroom. Our goal should remain to attract and keep the most qualified and well-trained teachers as possible. As such, AB 182 seeks to add statutory language relating to the licensing requirements of teachers. First, Section 2 of the bill states that a person must hold a bachelor's degree in order to obtain a license to teach K through 12, and also for other educational personnel. Now, I know what people are already thinking, I thought we already required a college degree in order to be a teacher in Nevada. Technically and currently, yes, we do, but it's only in the NAC. It's not in the NRS, so it's not state law. This bill seeks to cement it in the Nevada revised statutes. It further explains that the superintendent of public instruction of the Department of Education may issue an endorsement or license to a person to serve as a substitute teacher if that person meets the requirements according to the Commission on Professional Standards. Section 3 of the bill, which seems to have led to the most amount of confusion, so I will clarify Section 3 of the bill. First, there is a difference. There's lots of, everyone in education knows we use lots of lingo and language and acronyms and such. There are 2 different licensings happening. The first one is there is a teaching license with a career and technical education endorsement, or as we call CTE. That's a traditional teacher who has added that endorsement onto their license. The same way that a teacher could add special ed or GATE or English language learners or CTE, all of these additional, or even an administrative license, all of these different endorsements on your license. On the other hand, we have what we call a special license, and that special license, you can get a business and industry endorsement. We call it B&I. And what that is for is, again, the teaching license with CTE, that's a teacher. The special license with the B&I endorsement, those are professionals coming from the business and industry field, and they're specialized in arts, technical fields, and specific trades. So for instance, to bring someone into our schools to teach dance, cosmetology, culinary arts, welding, plumbing, carpentry, automotive, aeronautical space science, these are individuals who are skilled and experienced in their profession. They come in and they get this special license with a B&I endorsement. Again, the only person who can really teach mechanics is a mechanic. The only person who should be teaching welding is a welder. There are specific requirements that these individuals do have to complete in order to get this B&I license. I say this because this bill does not seek to make any changes for that B&I endorsement. Again, many times these individuals do not have bachelor's degrees because they're not required in their profession, but they do take additional training. More importantly, they're skilled and experienced in their field. So this bill is not changing any of the requirements or requiring a person with a special license with a B&I endorsement to have a college degree. And this is why I've submitted the amendment, the conceptual amendment that you have in front of you today, which excludes the holder of a special license issued described in NRS 391-031 from the requirement to hold a bachelor degree. The intent of this amendment is to establish by law a requirement to hold at least a bachelor's degree for persons receiving what is commonly known as a teaching license, but to exempt those from the requirement who hold a special license, including those persons with a B&I endorsement or a substitute teaching license. Section 4 concerns the regulations adopted by the Commission on Professional Standards in Education concerning licensing, adding a requirement that a person obtain a bachelor degree before participating in a program for an alternate route to licensing. Also, this is current practice as well. Finally, Section 5 of the bill adds a license to serve as a substitute teacher to the kinds of licenses for teachers and other education professionals. In closing, I urge your support for Assembly Bill 182. Overall, this measure seeks to create clarity and longevity by including these requirements and changes to licensure in statute. Nevada has an opportunity to first acknowledge and respect the time, effort, and money our teachers have put into earning their degrees. In more cases than not, teachers hold more than just a bachelor's degree. Many have at least a graduate degree, many have multiple graduate degrees, and some PhDs. It demonstrates that we appreciate these professionals and do not accept the notion that anybody can teach or those who can't teach. Teaching is a very specialized skill and art. But before the extensive and continual training required for teachers, it does begin with their own academic achievement and accomplishments. An apprentice electrician learns from a journeyman electrician. They do not learn from a handyman. Secondly, it sends the message to our parents that we do expect and strive to have the most qualified professionals teaching their children. Parents want to have confidence in the ability of those teaching their children. It also sets an example for our students that teachers themselves have walked that same walk and had their own journey and learned how to maneuver and compete in the world of academics. Lastly, at a time where many states are actually reducing requirements for teachers and ARLs, Nevada has the ability to demonstrate to the rest of the country that we know the way to build a pipeline is to restore the profession, and that starts with respecting and retaining our current workforce. As we seek to diversify our economy in Nevada and bring more business and job opportunities into the state, imagine the impression given if we do not require our own teachers to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree in state law. Imagine if the commission did decide to reduce or waive those requirements, which technically could happen. The impact that this would have on our students, the morale of our existing workforce, the trust of our parents, and of course, the impression on prospective businesses interested in coming to Nevada. With that, again, I thank you for considering Assembly Bill 182. I urge your support, and I stand ready for any questions.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Miller. We do have a few questions. I'll start with my vice chair.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblywoman slash teacher Miller. Thank you for bringing the bill, and thank you for the presentation and for the conceptual amendment, which really it just explained some of the emails that some of us have gotten in this. I just want to, my following and my reading and listening is really what this bill is intending to do is to codify what's really already in practice and regulation, because the regulation is how it's actually done, but it's not the law. It can easily be changed. So am I correct, or did I miss anything from there?
No, and this is Assemblywoman Brittany Miller for the record. You are absolutely correct, because it is just in regulation now, but it will codify it into law.
And follow up, please, Chair. Thank you so much. And just as a follow up, and thank you for that answer. I thought so. Just as a follow up, this precludes in an event where a waiver might be necessary, like we went through COVID, and they took a governor's waiver to allow some things. And that, does this preclude something like that from happening in an emergency situation?
Currently in the regulations, there is the ability to, right now, teachers need to teach within their license, what they're endorsed for. There is the ability that in emergency situations that the Department of Education could say, okay, you may be licensed to teach high school science. We need you to teach 7th grade math. Or you may only be licensed to teach in K through 8, but we need to move you to 9th grade math. That could happen. But yes, ultimately, if a governor did want to go against the law, it would be law, yes.
Right. If I may, just for clarification, Chair, just thank you. I should have said NDE, so thank you for that. And again, we want people teaching where they're licensed and certified to teach. But then in an emergency situation, we want a licensed teacher as opposed to someone unlicensed in that. But that's never happened since, as far as I can remember. So hopefully we'll never have to be there again. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And just for the record, Assemblywoman Miller, you don't need to identify yourself. You're the only one testifying, so.
And I said that the other day in committee as well, but I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. We all know who you are. We all know who you are. Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing forth this piece of legislation. And I guess I want to see if we have any idea how many individuals in classrooms right now this will impact.
Well, it technically won't impact anyone because this is requiring to get a license. Yes, there are people teaching under full-time under substitute license, but right now the requirement is to have a bachelor's degree before you get a license or an ARL.
My understanding, though, in consultation with many, looking at specifically at Section 3 of this legislation, there are teachers that have business and industry licenses right now that are teaching courses that might be another elective class, an art class, maybe a PE class, but their actual licenses in computer science. And so it would not allow for these teachers to be filling these roles. And so I guess my question is how many individuals would be in that situation, and how many classrooms would continue to just have a sub?
Well, that I actually don't have the answer for, but again, someone with a business and industry license should only be teaching under that endorsement, not other classes. So if they're already teaching, then they are already teaching under a sub-license. Because if you're endorsed to come in and teach culinary, you're not endorsed to come in and teach PE or English or any other class.
So I guess if we could get clarification from the district, because my understanding is that there are teachers that definitely have a business and industry license that are permitted to teach certain types of classes. It's not going to be all of classes. I don't think it's going to be your English classes or your math classes, but there's definitely other courses that they would be in. And otherwise, we would just have long-term subs in classrooms, and it's already an issue. So I'm worried that this is going to exacerbate the issue we have right now with not enough teachers in classrooms.
Mic is off. I turned it off so I could cough. We will get clarification on that, those numbers as well. Thank you very much. Next question is from Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, thank you, Assemblymember Miller, for bringing this forward, but also for your passionate defense of our shared profession. Greatly appreciate the statements that you've made in defense of our profession. My question has to do with page 5, the new language that has to do with the license to serve as a substitute teacher. I believe I already know the answer, but I just want clarification. Is a Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor of Science needed to substitute teach, or is, I believe currently those are set by regulations that you just need 9 credits in education. So I just didn't know if there's a degree also necessary to be a substitute teacher, or if the credits in education are enough in your with the new language being proposed.
No, it does not require a substitute teacher to have a bachelor degree. Again, whatever the commission sets forth for their standards is what will remain. And that's, substitute teachers fall under a special license, and that's what the amendment attempts to address.
Thank you for putting that on the record, Assemblywoman. Next, we have a question from Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this. And again, we're all in the same profession, and I appreciate you ensuring that our profession continues to be respected and the highest quality. I wanted to follow up on my colleagues' questions about teachers teaching outside of their subject area. I view this as a teacher protection bill. I have an endorsement in social studies. I would not be prepared to go teach calculus tomorrow. And I view this as protecting me from not being forced to teach something that I'm not equipped to teach. And so I wondered if you could just speak a little bit to that endorsement process for people that may not be aware what is required to get an endorsement in a social studies or a math or a PE.
Oh, goodness, now you're asking me to.
You don't have to go in specifics.
So in general, what's happened is, again, you have to have a college degree, and there's 2 paths. There's either the traditional path where you studied under the School of Education in your graduate studies, or you graduated with a degree, and then you could either go into a teaching program, which, like in my case, I went through another 2 full years of full student teaching, a full license, or you can go through an expedited program, which is sometimes as short as a few weeks, and that would be called an alternate route to licensing. Either way, that is about getting the additional coursework and training for you to teach. Now, what's pretty typical across the country is that for K through 12, there's 2 different licenses, a kindergarten through 8th grade and a 6th grade through 12th grade. And so here in Nevada, they only allow people with K through 8 to teach K through 6 unless you take an additional test to teach a 7th or 8th grade course. So that's just your coursework and your student teaching, but in addition, there were many other tests that teachers have to take in order to get their license. And I know you've heard the terms of praxis. There are Praxis 1 and Praxis 2. Praxis 1 is more about your academic ability. Praxis 2 is more about your focused subject that you intend to teach. The elementary praxis did cover all of the academic subjects as well as art, PE, and music. For a secondary praxis, that would just cover more the actual, if you're going to be a social studies teacher or a math teacher, but also it covers the theories around teaching as well. And then there were any other additional requirements that the state may put on. So that's typically what you need in order to get your license. And then depending on the type of license you have, type of degree you have, if it's your first license or not, depends on how long you can keep that initial license. But in general, 3 to 5 years, you need to take more additional training and steps to renew your license.
Chair, may I have just a brief follow-up? So just to summarize, it sounds like already to get an endorsement in those areas, you need to have many classes in that specialization. So would it be correct to say that the language in this bill really is just codifying what we are already doing in that practice?
Yes, currently we are in Nevada already doing this. So it is just codifying it so that it becomes state law. Because at this point, because it is regulations can be changed. the Commission on Professional Standards could decide to waive the requirement for a degree. It also doesn't stipulate currently what type of degree. It doesn't say whether it has to be a bachelor's degree. They could also say just an associate's degree. So because it's regulation, that could be changed. If it's state law, it becomes more difficult to change.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Thomas?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Miller, for your presentation. And I admire you. No experts next to you, so you are the expert, you know. So just have a brief question. This bill, would it also, because I was reading and I don't see, like a lot of bills will stipulate other entities. And this bill doesn't specify like charter schools and or private schools. So would this bill go for the gamut of all schools? Because from my understanding, some charter schools, some private schools, you don't have to have all the qualifications that CCSD may require.
Yes, that is true. And first and foremost, it doesn't, generally, we do not have a lot of authority over private schools. So this would not be for private schools. Private schools are able to accept and hire and do things the way they decide to do things. This is to get a license through the state. And yes, even last session, we had a bill about trying to increase the requirement for licensed teachers in charter schools. But the license comes from the state of Nevada. So at that point, you have the ability to apply and work in any Nevada school, and that would include Nevada's public schools and Nevada charter schools.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, I'll have you sit back and I will open it up. Oh, did I see?
Quick question too. Sorry. Do we know if the paraprofessional program is not included as an alternative route to licensure? I just want that clarified for the record because that had been asked to me.
So from my understanding, that program that was passed last session, that was enabling paraprofessionals to use their time in the classroom as part of their student teaching, which is the clinical for teachers experience. Again, in order to get the license, and they're supposed to be working on their degree while they're in the classroom. So again, we're talking about the actual license to teach. Student teaching is not the license. Student teaching is part of the process to get that license.
I'll look in statute. If maybe legal could just help make sure in statute it's not defined as an alternative route to licensure, or because I know it's a different pathway. It's very similar language.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. Yes, so paraprofessionals generally are not licensed under Chapter 391. They work in schools and they have certain authorized job tasks that they can perform, but they don't currently hold a license. So this bill wouldn't restrict a person from continuing to work as a paraprofessional without a degree.
Did you need any additional clarification? That's good? Okay. All right. Let's try this again.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to support. Anyone who is here to offer support testimony? I see a couple of people approaching. And begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. NSEA supports AB 182 to require a baccalaureate degree to obtain a teaching license. Teachers should be profession ready on the first day of responsibility for student learning. This means teacher candidates must demonstrate the skills and knowledge needed for effective classroom practice. While teachers continue to learn and grow after entering the profession, every teacher should first demonstrate the ability to improve student learning. Candidates who are placed in classrooms and expected to learn how to teach on the job are not profession ready. All persons entering the teaching profession must have had enough opportunities to witness, implement, and reflect on quality teaching and learning. They also need to have the foundational basis for this work. For most teachers, this means 4 years of undergraduate education, providing a broad liberal arts education, creating a firm foundation of teaching, knowledge, and experience. AB 182 helps ensure the professionalism of teaching, respecting educators who have completed years of schooling and training, building parent and community confidence in our teachers and schools, and making sure the most qualified individuals are in front of our students. NSCA believes strengthening the teaching profession will work to reduce the number of teacher vacancies, as disrespect, along with other factors like low pay, have been major factors in educator departures. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, members of the Education Committee. My name is Maggie Babb, and I am a second grade teacher in the Washoe County School District. I have a master's degree in elementary education, and I have been teaching in Nevada for 8 years. I am also a member of the Washoe Education Association and serve as an at-large director for the association. Today, I am speaking on behalf of the Washoe Education Association leadership and its members. I am speaking in support of AB 182. Teaching is a professional career. In fact, I would say teaching is an art. Educators go through years of school to earn a bachelor's degree, and many go on to attain a master's. Then every year, educators attend hours of professional developments to learn more about how to effectively teach their students. Many teachers even spend their own time keeping up with the current research and trends in education. While it is apparent that Nevada is facing a massive teacher shortage, addressing the teacher shortage should absolutely not involve lowering the requirements to be a teacher. It should involve supporting teachers, paying them, and giving them the resources to teach and serve our students. There should be a highly qualified professional filling teacher vacancies. Ensuring that all educators being asked to come into a classroom have a baccalaureate degree is one step in protecting the professionalism of a career in education. And if we are truly serious about having highly qualified professionals in all classrooms, the answer is raising educators' wages. It's time to invest in education and educators and treat them as the professionals they are. Thank you, Assemblymember Miller, for presenting this bill and your work on this bill, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak with you all today.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, KB Mejia here with the Ferrado Company on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards. NASB is in support of AB 182. We believe this bill will help recruit and retain the most qualified individuals, and we want to thank Assemblywoman Miller for bringing this bill forward and urge your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Schaefer, he, him. I am a high school math teacher in Washoe County. I have the privilege to serve on the board of the Washoe Education Association. I come before you today to speak on behalf of WA leadership and our members in support of AB 182. I'm a proud participant of the alternate route to licensure here in Nevada. The ARL program, as you know, serves to prepare second career teachers for a licensed teaching position. The program allows for working professionals to transition to a career in public education without requiring excessive coursework by utilizing their existing degrees and experience. This bill does not add any undue burden to this program or teacher licensure requirements in general. It serves to reinforce the existing expectation and practices in place. This bill is in support of educators as professionals by strengthening the language and reinforcing the expectations of the public. You are standing in support of public educators, acknowledging them as the professionals they are, and reassuring the public you believe in a strong public education. This bill makes a statement. The state of Nevada believes every student deserves a competent, highly qualified teacher in every classroom. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Constance Brooks, representing the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are in support of AB 182. We thank Assemblywoman Miller for her collaborative nature in developing this bill. She reached out to the College of Education and received input and expertise in the development of the bill. We are committed to making sure that there's a sustainment of high profile and just high standards rather for teachers and educators, which will aid in maximizing retention and recruitment for educators. And so we are in support. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Anthony Ruiz with Nevada State College, preparing highly qualified teachers is a big part of our mission and will continue to do so. Really appreciate Assemblywoman Miller for bringing this bill forward, which seeks to codify some of the changes, or some of the policies rather, in administrative code. So again, just urge everyone to support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Committee. My name is Tanya Holmes Sutton. I'm a National Board Certified Teacher. I am currently serving as the Executive Director for Teach Plus Nevada, supporting teachers and teacher leadership. I worked in Clark County School District for 15 years before transitioning out to support teachers in leadership. I also sit on the Board of Directors for National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, as well as a former member of the State Board of Education and now on the State Board Charter School Authority. I also am speaking in support of AB 182, acknowledging that our students deserve to have teachers who are well prepared to support them, not only in their academic learning, but also in their cognitive, social, emotional learning as well. I appreciate you so much for this opportunity. Please pardon my voice. Thank you.
I'm right there with you. Anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide support testimony? It doesn't look like anyone approaching. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers wishing to provide support testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will close support testimony and open it to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City who would like to testify in opposition? Not seeing anyone approach. Anyone in Las Vegas? Once again, not seeing anyone approach. BPS, is there anyone on the phone line that would like to provide opposition testimony?
Chair, there are no callers wishing to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will close opposition and open it up to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide neutral testimony? Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, I think. Patricia Haddad, Director of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. Appreciate the Assemblywoman bringing the clarification and the amendment forth. I'm just looking at it now because the Nellis website has not been working for me throughout the day. So we'll bring this back to our team just to affirm that everything looks good. And then I also just wanted to note that I did hear the question in regards to educators that have the business and industry license that may be teaching in other courses, and I'll be sure to find an answer to that and bring that back to the committee. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Anyone else in Carson City in neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas in neutral? Anyone on the phone lines in neutral?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Great. With that, we will close neutral testimony, and I will offer, and she's giving me the nope. All right, thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on AB 182. Thank you very much, Ms. Assemblywoman Miller. Headed back to committee. Bye. Okay, and with that, we will open our next bill, which is Assembly Bill 264. We have our own Vice Chair Taylor, who is approaching, and you have some other folks who, they're not in the room yet. She got her like teacher voice. Now. Just begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the most excellent Committee on Education. And my co-presenters here will begin. He just got out of another hearing in the Senate side, so thank you very much. My name is Angie Taylor, and I am the proud Assemblywoman representing District 27 in Washoe County, and I am actually very excited. We are very excited to present this bill, AB 264, which revises provisions governing attendance in public schools. A little background information: Nevada schools are populated, and we know this, by a variety of students with a wide range of cultures, backgrounds, and ways of life. It is vitally important that we recognize and respect these differences while crafting school policy. One area in need in this regard relates to school absences. Currently, there are provisions, both in statute and in school district regulations, that specifically provide for the excusal of certain absences, often related to certain health circumstances. However, statute does not, and regulations may not, account for the observance of religious holidays, and then AB 264 seeks to change that. Currently, religious absences are indeed considered excused absences, but they are indeed still noted as an absence. As you'll hear from one of my co-presenters, this can and has penalized students who miss school in order to exercise their faith. So now I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenters. You'll hear a little bit more about that, and then you will take them through the bill. Yes.
All right, Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. For the record, my name is Elliot Mallon on behalf of the Anti-Defamation League. First, I want to say we are really incredibly thankful for Assemblywoman Taylor, not only sponsoring this bill, but also being our champion on this issue and a champion for Nevada's school children. I'm going to start with a little statement. I'm going to go through the bill, and then I'll end, and then I will hand it over to Jolie Brislin, also with the Anti-Defamation League. As a product of the Clark County School District, I'm grateful for the opportunities and experiences I was given growing up here in Nevada. However, as a member of the Jewish community, there was always one thing missing from that opportunity. Every fall, as school was kicking off, the Jewish holidays would come around, and I missed school because my religion required my observance for these days. I'd always do my makeup work, always turn in a note for my parents, and always let the teachers know ahead of time. When it came time to graduate, I learned that there would be a drawing for a new car for perfect attendance for students that hadn't missed a day of school, and as an 18-year-old at the time, a new car is an awesome opportunity. Unfortunately for me, that was not something I had the opportunity to qualify for, all because my religion had required that I be absent from school on certain days. Recently, a student at a high school here in northern Nevada was trying to notify their school that they were going to be absent for Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year, and they were given a hard time by the faculty and staff. While that was not something that is currently permissible already, like they cannot do that, it is already a reality that for some of our students, that is what we deal with. And it is a reality that I faced as well. What we are intending to do with this legislation is withdraw these days from being, quote, absent from the school for the purpose of perfect attendance awards and for the district's metrics that are required by the absenteeism index score within the Nevada State Performance Framework. Further, these days will not count towards the truancy metrics that we currently use. To go over quickly the technical portions of the bill, Section 3 states the students who are not in school because of a religious observance will not be deprived of the opportunity or eligibility for perfect attendance awards. They will not have these days counted against them for the purpose of NRS 392.130, subsection 4's truancy provision if the legal guardian of the student had given notice to the school. Section 4, subsection 2 states that the students shall not be counted as absent for the purpose of a religious observance if notice is given by the legal guardian of the student. Section 5, subsection 3A makes a conforming change to the NRS. Section 5, subsection 6 makes it that students who are not in attendance due to the religious observance shall not have the 10-day limitation for absences for the purpose of truancy from Section 3. Section 5, subsection 7, as well as Section 6, subsection 1, both makes conforming changes. Section 6, subsection 4 requires a legal guardian of the student notify the school that the student will not be in school for the religious observance. You will see conceptual amendment that was posted to Nellis. Conceptual Amendment 1 strikes orally and requires this to be a written notice to the school for when we think that a paper trail is probably for the best. And then Conceptual Amendment 2 further requires that the legal guardian provide 3 days of advance notice to the school in writing. So instead of it being post, it is pre, so that way the school can prepare the work, the makeup work, and everything for that student. And then the rest of the bill are conforming changes. And then further, we have 2 other conceptual amendments. Conceptual Amendment 3 would make the number of days eligible for the purpose of missing school for a religious observance at 5 days an academic year. The purpose for that is, 1, we don't want to make a list of holidays that are recognized by the state. That would violate the First Amendment, and we don't want to do that. But it also makes sure that all students have the opportunity to have these days and are protected. Conceptual Amendment 4 adds in that for the purpose of the student missing school for the purpose of a religious observance, that these days will not count against the school's absenteeism index score from the Nevada State Performance Framework, and that came from Clark County School District, and I'm grateful for their willingness to work with us on this bill. Our goal here today is to protect Nevadans and their ability to practice their faith without fear of negative repercussions within our school system. There are numerous Nevadans just like me that have grown up here attending Nevada's public schools and missing school due to religious observances. This bill is not meant to favor any faith, but is to level the playing field for all students and protecting their individual liberties while also ensuring that their participation in their faith is not a negative reflection of their schooling. Finally, I would also be remiss if I didn't thank all the stakeholders and their collaboration and willingness to work with us on this bill in providing language that accomplishes our goals and also does not put the school districts in a place of harm. Thank you for your time today, and then after Jolie Brislin goes, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, Jolie Brislin with the Anti-Defamation League. Good afternoon, Chair Bilbray, Bilbray Axelrod, and members of the House Committee on Education. My name is Jolie Brislin, and I serve as Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League Nevada's region. Founded in 1913, ADL is a national anti-hate and civil rights organization with a dual mission to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment for all. I am proud to be here today in support of Assembly Bill 264. ADL believes that students of all backgrounds and faiths should be able to practice their religious beliefs without fear of being reprimanded or disadvantaged. In fact, the free exercise clause of the First Amendment requires K-12 public schools to allow students time off for school without penalty for observance of the high holidays. However, excused absences prevent students from being able to receive certain accolades or awards, including absences due to a religious observance. This is an issue of equity in our schools, as well as honoring inclusion and respecting the rich religious and cultural diversity of the Silver State. A student should never have to choose between their academic achievements and their sincerely held religious beliefs, period. AB 264 would address this issue by creating an exemption through religious observance days instead of excused absences, so that students who are absent from school for the observance of a religious holiday will not be deprived of any award or ineligible to compete for any award because of those absences. Students will be required to have a parent or legal guardian provide proper notice to the teacher, principal, or school. Allowing students to remain eligible for attendance-based awards without compromising a student's religious obligation recognizes our increasingly pluralistic population. We believe that through this proposed law, we can build a community of mutual respect by accommodating students for their religious practice and supporting their academic achievements. Thank you for your consideration.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Just if I may, for the committee, there's one other conceptual agreement that we added late to make some clarity. And this was at the recommendation of the very astute Assemblyman McCarthy, who made this recommendation, and I'm very appreciative of it. In Section 3, you'll see the new section that's there. It just makes it clear, there's verbiage added, based upon perfect attendance. It makes it really clear that the awards that we're talking about maintaining eligibility for are those awards that are based upon perfect attendance. So it's very, very clear that's the intention of this. So I really appreciate that, Assemblyman. Thank you very much. And that being said, then we stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. We do have a number of questions. We'll start with Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblywoman, for your excellent sponsorship of this bill. It's a very important topic to address, and thank you for your excellent presentation, co-presenters. My question is this. If you could just unpack this a little bit, what type of religious absences really would be excused according to the premises of this legislation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Angie Taylor, for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman. That question has come up often. And initially I thought, well, there's got to be a list somewhere of what absences are noted and so on. But as mentioned by my co-presenter, Mr. Mallon here, that's a violation of the First Amendment. Someone doesn't get to judge if that's a real religion or not. But a conceptual amendment that it needs to be notified in writing 3 days in advance by a parent or guardian should be the guardrails around there. If you talk to a district, currently in practice, if a parent or guardian calls a school and says my student is going to be absent for this religious, or Tuesday was a religious, and then the school notes that. You don't get to judge that. It would be very easy if there's a list, but that's a violation as stated by my co-presenter. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll go to Assemblyman Moscow.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this important piece of legislation. I just wanted to get on the record your intention when it comes to execution. So will it be in Infinite Campus that we're going to do this? Just what's your intention to make sure it gets executed that way?
Elliot Mallon for the record on behalf of the Anti-Defamation League. I believe that is my intent, that is our intent. We have been working with the districts, the Department of Education, on how to fully implement this to make it as easy as possible for the districts. And from the conversations we've had with the districts, they've been very comfortable with what we are trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. I do think it is really essential that we are recognizing all of the cultures and religious beliefs of all of our students and making them feel welcome. My colleagues kind of asked some of my questions. I would just like to say, I would like to make sure that this is not on the teacher to verify, that it is an automatic process through Infinite Campus and through the office staff. And then I'd also like to say, I know we can't have a list of holidays, and I respect that and I agree with that. But could it be possible to notify the teacher why the student is absent, or maybe include some cultural or religious education so teachers know, hey, this is Ramadan. Some of your kids might be extra hungry during the day because extra blah, blah, blah. And don't give them food because that's the opposite of what they're trying to do, right? So some cultural competency I think is important here.
Elliot Mallon for the record. As to the first part of the question, I'll answer, and then I'm going to let my co-presenters answer the second part. Our intent is to do that. As you noted, we don't want to create a stress on the teachers at all, which is why we're working with the districts, especially with figuring out how we can put this into Infinite Campus and make this as easy on the teachers. They're already dealing with too much, so we don't want to put too much more onto them. Thank you.
Hi, Julie Brislin, ADL. For the record, we do work with school districts by providing them resources on different holidays that are observed by many students within the school districts, Washoe County, CCSD, and others, to try to educate them on what those holidays do look like for those participating and what expectations should or should not be put on to students and at times staff. But we try to make all of that an educational experience.
And if I may, Madam Chair, Assemblywoman Angie Taylor, what I think that we may be able to do with maybe the other part of what you're getting at is that in that written notification, maybe ask a part of that written notification be to identify what the religious holiday is. Give them, ask them to do that. They're not required that, but ask them, because that at least provides some information. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. And certainly the attendance offices are already keeping track of it. Right now, it's an excused absence. They're already doing that. There's no reason for that to change. So there should be no different for teachers. Okay. Thank you, Assemblywoman.
Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. Assemblywoman, as we discussed on some other prior legislation, I'm glad to see you address some of the concerns I think all of us had when we were dealing with absent excuses, non-excuse, and so forth. So my question is, if I have it right, so athletes, if they're on an athletic event, it's an excuse, doesn't count against them. So we're saying this is going to give that same parity, that it won't count against them. I was just curious, does it count against an athlete?
Assemblywoman Angie Taylor, for the record, it does not. What is called, as I remember correctly, and we have the state superintendent here, and we talked about that a little bit, is those are considered absences for school activities. And so therefore, they don't show up, so to speak, in the excuse absence category. And this is saying for 5 days, then those celebrating observing religious holidays will have that same opportunity for 5 days each academic year.
Thank you. Chair, if I could just follow up real quick. Thank you. I was hoping that you could clarify that so those that might not have been a party to some of the discussions we've had on some other bills about that very thing, that now this bill will bring that kind of fairness. I think that was really important. And then just a side note, this is maybe just a more for informational. When because I was curious how you came to the 5 days. Was that like a compromise? Because I thought of something. I'm familiar that the state of Israel sponsors Jewish youth to come and do a trip that the state of Israel pays for and philanthropic groups do, which is a magnificent program. I know students have gone there maybe for a week or a couple of weeks. I don't know that the trips necessarily take place during the school year. I happen to have the privilege of going to Israel in April of 2014, and there were youth there on these trips. And wondering if a student missed for an absence for something like that was during a school year, and it's longer than 5 days, would we consider that maybe not religious observance, but more fall into the realm of like a foreign exchange program? Like we have students who'll miss a semester and go. So like I said, I'm kind of opening it up, not looking to address that per se, but just curious.
Thank you, Elliot Mallon, for the record. Those trips are actually typically designed for people that are post K-12 education. You're thinking things like Birthright, which is a trip done in the summer and during winter break for college students. There are trips that do happen when for K-12 educations, typically 11th and 12th graders, things like March of the Living, where it takes you for 2 weeks to 1 week in Poland to learn about the Holocaust, and then 1 week in Israel to kind of celebrate the rebirth and the foundation of the state of Israel. Our intent with this bill is not to include that. Those are elective. I think they're amazing programs, but they are elective and they could be done not during the school year, whereas these are holidays and observances done during the school year, and we want to make sure we protect the students and their opportunity to practice their faith during school. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may answer the other part of that, Assemblywoman Angie Taylor, for the record, the 5 days was somewhat of a compromise. In considering we have Jewish holidays, right? We have Muslim holidays, and so having conversations with members of those communities and with Jolie's expertise to help us navigate through that, what would be a good place to land, so all of those are included.
Thank you, and we'll go to Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, and Assemblymember Hanson had one of my questions I was going to ask. I just want to make sure, though, that when the outside entity that you had spoke of about that has the free car for 100% attendance, I know my seniors and my seniors are always excited about that. Does this address that, or is this something where the school district can actually ask them to work on a little bit more?
Elliot Mallon, for the record, I appreciate this question. This does address that. And part of the amendment from Assemblyman MacArthur was to do this as based on perfect attendance. These are perfect attendance awards. This is how you qualify. So the intent is to address that as well. Thank you.
So just to make sure to understand, the list of names then that the school district would provide to this outside company that has been approved to do so would include these students because they do fit within that 100% attendance.
Elliot Mallon, for the record, correct. Thank you.
And I may add, if I may, Madam Chair, is in Northern Nevada, I know the owner of the car company who's been doing that for 12 years, and she welcomes the addition of those that don't. She wasn't aware that those count again, so she welcomes the inclusion.
Thank you. Any other questions from our committee? Okay, we'll ask you to sit back, and anyone here who is in support of the bill, please come up to the microphones. Just remember to state and spell your name. No, you don't have to spell your name. Just state your name.
My name is Jahangir Arslan. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of committee. I testified the bill AB 264 because I believe that everybody should be able to practice their religious beliefs without being disadvantaged. Educational system should not let a student to choose between their academic achievements or religious beliefs. This proposed law may allow to build a community of mutual respect by accommodating students for their religious practices and support their academic achievements. This may allow students to remain eligible for attendance-based awards without compromising a student's religious obligations, recognizes their increasingly pluralistic population. Sorry. I think the goal of this bill is to help students to protect their faiths without fear of negative consequences within our Nevada school system. Finally, this bill doesn't mean to favor any faith, but protecting their individual liberties while ensuring their participation in their faith is not a negative reflection of their schooling. So I would like to thank to Assemblywoman Angie Taylor to bringing this bill to our attention. Thanks, and I am asking everyone to support this bill.
Thank you very much. I see you are reading off paper. If you could provide that testimony to our secretaries, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Brzezinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we understand that this is a good bill, and we support it and support our students who want to exercise their religious preference. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Committee on Education. My name is Murat Kurt. I am a parent of 2 Washoe County School District elementary students and a member of Northern Nevada Muslim community. I believe that students of all backgrounds and faiths should be able to practice their religious beliefs and participate in their observance of religious holidays with their families without fear of being called absent from school and become ineligible or disadvantaged for any attendance-based awards at school, district, or state level. As presented today by Assemblywoman Taylor, AB 264 will address this issue so that students who are absent from school for the observance of any religious holiday will not be deprived based on their absences and will qualify for any attendance-based awards. Thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm in full support of Assembly Bill 264.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, KB Mejia, I'm here with the Ferrado Company on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards. NASB supports AB 264. We believe it will provide an inclusive environment for students of all backgrounds, and we want to thank Assemblywoman Taylor for bringing this bill forward, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else coming up in Carson City. Is there? Oh, she's running. She's here. She made it in the nick of time.
My name is Lilith Barron, Lilithbaran, and I'm with the ACLU of Nevada. We love the celebration of cultural diversity displayed in this piece of legislation and congratulate the Assemblywoman for bringing it forward, and we're in full support. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else going to make a run for the table? Okay. Don't see anyone. Anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Not seeing anyone approach. Anyone on the phone lines, BPS, in support?
Callers, if you would like to testify in support of AB 264, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to support at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will close the support testimony and open it to opposition. Anyone here in Carson City in opposition? Not seeing anyone approach. Anyone in Las Vegas? Once again, not seeing anyone approach. Anyone on the phone lines in opposition?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to AB 264, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And we will close opposition testimony and open neutral testimony. Do we have anyone here in Carson City in neutral? Not seeing anyone approach. Anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines in neutral?
Callers, if you would like to testify in neutral for AB 264, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you, and I will invite Vice Chair back up to make some closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and to the most excellent Committee on Education. This bill will establish policies that support students' diverse religious needs, expectations, and even obligations. One of the persons giving testimony said. So I think it will help to create a culture of respect and inclusion in all of our schools across the state. So I thank you for considering AB 264, and I urge your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And with that, I will close the hearing on AB 264. And I will now open the hearing on AB 226. This measure revises provisions governing tuition for certain students. To present this measure, we have our own Assemblyman De Silva, who I believe is joined by a couple co-presenters here in Carson City and in Las Vegas as well. Please take a few moments to get yourself together and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Assemblyman Ruben De Silva, representing Assembly District 28 in Clark County. I am presenting Assembly Bill 226, which revises provisions governing tuition for students receiving federally recognized deferred action immigration status. The bill before you today is addressing a decade-long issue in our nation. What do we as states, and how do we as states, adjudicate the education of people with deferred action immigration status? One of the most well-known of these being DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program implemented under the Obama administration. Nevada has prudently moved on this issue. Currently, Nevada is one of 23 states that has some degree of tuition equity laws or policies in the books that allow for deferred action students to qualify for in-state tuition rates. But there is something very important to understand here. In Nevada law, in order for a deferred action student to receive the in-state tuition benefit, they must show a nexus to our state, and this nexus has always meant graduating from an in-state high school. But there is a new problem at hand, a problem that has been brewing for a while, and in the past few years has been becoming more and more perceptible. What about deferred action status holders who move into our state after graduating high school in a different state? For U.S. citizens and documented permanent residents, the fix is simple. Establish residency in Nevada for 12 months, and if asked, take the state high school equivalency test. That's it. Once you do this, you qualify for in-state tuition. As the law stands, it is impossible for, say, a DACA recipient to do this if they move to Nevada from a different state. And this is the problem that this bill seeks to fix. According to the National Immigration Forum, when DACA was first implemented in 2012, the average age of an eligible person was 17. Today, according to forward.us, the average age of a DACA recipient is 28. And I'm just going to come off script a little bit just to put this into perspective. So when the program first was created in 2012, 11 years ago now, the average recipient was 17 years old. More likely than not, that individual was in their home state, was looking to graduate high school, and potentially attend college in that state. And according to the laws of this state, that's still possible. If you graduate from a Nevada high school, you can get the in-state break in tuition. Today, the average age is 28. So recipients of deferred action are moving across the country. They're laying stake and settling down in other parts of the nation. And this is the issue that we want to address. If a recipient of deferred action moved into Nevada from a different state, they would not be able to get an in-state tuition break, no matter how long they lived here. They could live here 6 years, they could live here 8 years, they could live here for 20 years. It's impossible for them to get that break, even though this is now their new home. This bill seeks to help these dreamers, like Tessie here, who is a student at CSN, who has been living in Nevada now for several years, but who pays 3 times the rate of anybody else who's in a similar sort of residency here. 3 times as much. And she wants to be a nurse, by the way. Many of these dreamers have lived in Nevada for years now. This is their home, and this is where they have been contributing to our economy. And speaking of the economy, all indicators show that when given the chance to learn new skills, grow in knowledge, and earn degrees, recipients of deferred action programs help boost whatever local economy that they are a part of. Passage of AB 226 will unquestionably help spur economic growth in our state. I will now very quickly review the specificities of this bill. First, this bill will allow for recipients of federally recognized deferred action programs like DACA and TPS who move into Nevada from a different U.S. state and who did not graduate from a Nevada high school the ability to become eligible for in-state tuition after establishing residency in Nevada for 12 months and after taking the high school equivalency test. As written, the bill avoids any federal conflict and maintains policy that is compliant with all federal laws. I urge you to support AB 226. This bill directly addresses tuition equity issues by creating pathways for a more affordable and accessible college education for some of our state's most vulnerable residents. In doing so, we will help develop a better trained workforce and help boost our economy. I will now turn things over to our first co-presenter, NC Chancellor Dale Erquiaga in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the committee, for the record, I'm Dale Erquiaga, the acting chancellor, and I was lollygagging in the back of the room, thinking that the gentleman to my left would speak before me. It's my pleasure to be here in support of this legislation. I want to thank Assemblyman De Silva for working with my staff on this bill. Most of you have heard me say that while I was born in this country and my parents were, my aunts and uncles were born in Spain. And so I grew up with stories of folks who, in the 20th century, went through their own battles of deferred status. I had an uncle who was refused a job and had to join the army in order to become eligible to work. So I have grown up with stories like those of the folks who we all, I think, refer to as dreamers. And so it's nice to be able to see this bill come forward. I want to say a couple of things about the Board of Regents' history with this issue. As the Assemblyman has noted, the board adopted a policy some years ago that provided for the high school graduation workaround, if you will, for those within Nevada. But we did not have, until this bill, the option for the high school equivalency test. And folks who are not familiar with that test, there are 2 versions. It's commonly called the GED. There's also another test, the HiSET. Both are administered in this state. And so when we saw the original draft of the bill, we've asked that have a nexus to Nevada in its administration. We will continue to work with the sponsor on what that means to this particular population. I appreciate him also educating all of us on how this issue has aged out and how the folks that are involved have aged. I don't often think about it in that way. I think about it as a static group. But of course, these are young people who, like my own aunts and uncles, have grown up and are coming to my system today for new services. So I'm very happy to support the bill as it has been introduced. We have been working with the Assemblyman on an amendment, and you will hear today from the folks at UNLV some suggestions for language about having a certification by the Attorney General. There is still an issue that we are working with your legal office on and the sponsor on, and that is that federal law provides guidance on top of our Nevada statute that the Assemblyman here is so rightly trying to improve. That federal law, which the lawyers will tell you the exact citation, I am sure is what has left most states like us in this place of having differing standards for students in a deferred action program. And so I just want to be clear for the committee, we'll continue to work on our concerns about that federal law and about the possibility of having a certification from the Attorney General, but I want you to understand the place that I am in between the rock and the hard place, and that is if we get this wrong, we risk a future administration at the federal level taking action, if you will, to revoke Nevada's federal financial aid funds. And so you understand the consequences of that. It's $391 million impacting 45,000 students in school year 21-22. So those of us who have a job like mine, where we are risk averse, sometimes by nature, are watching the language very closely. We've appreciated the work with the folks you'll hear from one of our institutions here in the South and with your staff to be sure that we get the bill right, because we want this bill to progress and we want it to do the right thing for this group of students who are on deferred action status. And, as lawyers do, lawyers don't always agree. And so I need to put on the record that we are continuing to work through these issues really only for the purpose of protecting that financial aid grant of $391 million to 45,000 of my students every year. So with that, Madam Chairman, I will yield the floor back. I just want to thank, again, the Assemblyman for including me in his presentation, and to him and his staff for working so closely with us. My commitment to all the folks who I know are going to testify and who are watching this bill, we're going to get this right, and we're going to do the right thing. And at the same time, I have a responsibility to those who will follow me in the system to protect all my students and the state of Nevada from financial risk.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Esther Paul Cazares. I have been an academic counselor within the NSHE system for over a decade and currently a public policy doctoral student at UNLV. Today, I'm representing my own professional opinion. In my experience, I have seen how our current NSHE residency policy has not been inclusive of some students, even after showing proof of 12-month residency in our state. For some students, there is no pathway in gaining in-state tuition. AB 226 will help increase equity and access for our DACA and TPS students, which did not have or did not receive a Nevada high school diploma, but either have a Nevada high school equivalency or have a high school diploma from another state. Access to higher education is the first NSHE strategic goal, which this bill directly aligns with. As an academic counselor, I feel hopeless when I have to inform students in front of me they cannot gain in-state tuition due to their status. Just last week, I had a student email me from California asking what are the in-state tuition policies. I told her, hang tight because we are working on it. For example, a CSN full-time student pays about $1,500 per semester, but an out-of-state student pays $5,500 per semester. This is a difference of $4,000 per semester. We're talking about $10,000 per year. This is not accessible, especially at a community college. I've met with students which chose to continue online education at the community colleges where they could pay in-state tuition. In these cases, not only a school like CSN has lost an enrollment, but also UNLV has lost a transfer student. This is at a time when we are trying to increase enrollment, especially after the pandemic decline. Retention is one of our #1 priorities, but the students I meet with will take a semester off here and there to save up for the following semester. Many times they don't come back. As you may know, DACA and TPS holders cannot apply for federal aid, FAFSA, and so they have to pay out of their own savings. Most of the students I've met with are going into healthcare, education. These are fields that Nevada is in dire need of. These students are Nevada residents. They pay taxes, pay all the student fees, and yet can't get access to in-state tuition. In Nevada, we have over 6,000 TPS holders, which contribute $10.5 million in state and local taxes. We have close to 12,000 DACA recipients, which contribute $37.3 million in state and local taxes. In my research, states like Oregon, Washington, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Virginia, Hawaii, Idaho have all allowed TPS holders to access in-state tuition, while other states list deferred action, like Arkansas. I ask that you support AB 226. I'm here to amplify the voice of each student which either could not afford these out-of-state fees and dropped out, or the student which is on a payment plan trying to pay each semester working 2-3 jobs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Michael Kagan. I am a Joyce Mack Professor of Law at the William S. Boyd School of Law at UNLV and the Director of the UNLV Immigration Clinic. I need always, when I testify, to be clear that I'm not speaking for UNLV or for ENCHI, for the services of the man to my right. But I have worked at UNLV since 2011, and this position has given me the opportunity, first and foremost, to meet with and get to know and work with many students who have DACA and TPS. It also means, even though I've now been here for a while, there are people who would be excluded from in-state tuition under our current policies who have lived here longer than me. And that's the gap that we are trying to fill, because as the Assemblyman noted, DACA students, people with DACA are getting older. Some are actually in their late 30s, approaching 40, and they will continue to get older, and so are less and less likely to have graduated from high school in Nevada because people move. In principle, this is in a sense a technical bill that tries to follow a principle that's been enacted in Nevada law for a while, as has been said. Because you can obtain in-state tuition through a high school diploma alone, we're already quite inclusive, except that we do have this gap if someone happens to move into Nevada when they're just after graduating from high school. We don't have an easy path for them. This bill, on the technical level, does not include all undocumented immigrants. I think that's important to be clear about in terms of its limits. But let me flesh out a little bit more who it does include. People with temporary protected status, which is a very large population in the state of Nevada, about more than 6,000 by many estimates. Those are people who have been granted the right to stay, at least temporarily, by the Secretary of Homeland Security due to humanitarian disasters in their country that prevent them from being able to return. People with DACA, of course, which has been mentioned, is probably the best known form of deferred action. But with the amendment, this would actually extend to all deferred action. And that's important. And I want to, because many people know about DACA, I want to mention that deferred action actually goes back much farther. It goes back to at least to the 1970s. And it is used often in individual cases and in smaller cases for people in quite sympathetic situations. Let me mention two groups that we work with at the UNLV Immigration Clinic who will benefit from this bill. One are crime victims. Already, to prevent conclusion, ENCHI will give in-state tuition to people who have U visas, which is a visa for a crime victim. But the problem with the U visa is that it can take roughly 10 years to process. In between that, along that path, there is a mechanism for granting deferred action for people who have prima facie cases, but who are waiting for a spot in the quota. And for similar reasons, children, a group, special immigrant juveniles, these are children, this is actually the core of our work at the UNLV Immigration Clinic, children who are victims of abuse, neglect, or abandonment by their parents and cannot return to their country of origin, depending on their nationality, also often have to wait years for a visa, but since 2022 are given deferred action, while they wait. And many of these are teenagers, and so higher education is an important consideration for them. And it would be wonderful for this group to also be eligible for in-state tuition. So let me address what the Chancellor alluded to, some of the legal needle that we have to thread. And again, I thank Assemblyman De Silva for bringing forward this bill, but also for being patient in many conversations with lawyers. Many people don't enjoy that. So there is a federal law that creates an obstacle. I'm not going to read the whole law, but I'll give you, it's 8 U.S.C. 1623A, for those who want to look it up, that creates an obstacle to providing in-state tuition based purely on residency, the 12-month residency for Nevada, if the person is not lawfully present. Now, lawful presence is a term of art in immigration law, and it's pretty complicated. The current administration, and actually the prior administrations, have considered people with deferred action to be lawfully present. So I have in front of me an FAQ published by the Department of Homeland Security, and it says deferred action recipients are also considered to be lawfully present for purposes of public benefits. Also, they're considered lawfully present for purposes of inadmissibility. I'm now speaking of foreign language of immigration lawyers, but basically they are lawfully present under current understandings, and we would not be the first state to do this. Washington State has a law that embraces all people with deferred action as well. But the purpose of having certification by the Attorney General of compliance with this law is to allow flexibility, particularly in the case of a change in federal policy, so that NSHE would not have to be running back to the legislature in event of a crisis like that in the case of change in the law. But I am here to answer your questions if any of you would like to talk to a lawyer. And again, thank you very much for the privilege of being part of presenting this bill.
Assemblyman, are we back up here now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're open for questions at this time.
Okay, we do have a few questions, and then I just want to make sure that you are aware that we will be losing Las Vegas at 3:30. So once we're done with questions, we will start with testimony in Las Vegas. We will go to Vice Chair Taylor and then to Assemblyman Moscow.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my colleague, the Assemblyman, for, as you always say, for an excellent presentation, and really for bringing this into all the co-presenters who are there. The last presenter mentioned this a little bit, but I want to go in and just kind of unpack it a little bit in terms of this is targeting. I know he mentioned DACA students. He mentioned those who are lawfully present. How does this impact, or why does this not impact the intention to impact all those who are undocumented? Can you just unpack that to make that really clear for everyone?
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman, for the question. That's a very important question. It's one that we have been receiving, a lot. As this legislation has been created, really crafted. This bill is limited in its approach. Deferred action recipients are who this bill is going to benefit. There are some issues with the federal government that we have not really worked out yet, and I would hope maybe we can get a lawyer in the house. Oh, we have one back there, right, in Las Vegas, who may be able to speak on this a little bit deeper in regards to the actual legal issue.
Is that your phone a friend? Okay, there you go. And just identify yourself for the record,
Okay.
please.
Yes, Michael Kagan, for the record. So, if I understood the question, I think you're asking for more detail about the legal complexity that we're trying to navigate. Is that right?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so there's again, for that provision I cited before, let me read it this time so you understand. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, an alien who is not lawfully present in the United States shall not be eligible on the basis of residence within a state for any post-secondary education benefit unless a citizen or national of the United States is eligible for such a benefit without regard to whether the citizen or national is such a resident. What this means is a state has roughly three choices. One choice would be to not have out-of-state tuition at all, just have one level of tuition. So I haven't been in any conversations proposing that. Another option is, and the one where I think we're trying to take here, is to only offer in-state tuition based on residency. So for us, that's based on the 12-month residency rule. To people who are lawfully present. The third option would be to go farther and to directly challenge this federal policy. But that's also not the approach that we have been trying to take. So basically we're looking for we're trying to find categories who are important parts of our community, who have deep roots in our state, and who are lawfully present. TPS, people with temporary protected status fall into that category, and people with deferred action are considered to be lawfully present. Deferred action is admittedly a less secure and more legally controversial category in federal immigration law, and that's why we're trying to be careful. I hope that answers your question, but I'm happy to clarify further.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, Assemblyman. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We will go to Assemblyman Moscow.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this very important legislation. My colleague from the North asked my main question. My opinion is that we need to support as many Nevadans as we can to have access to higher education. But I'll then ask, do we know about how many people this is going to help in our state?
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman, for that question. So we know that there are roughly anywhere from 12 to 13,000 recipients of DACA in this state, but 6,000 TPS holders. So we have several thousand, tens of thousands of people who are in a deferred action status here in Nevada. So from our conversations with some of the actual representatives of the universities, we believe that the number is anywhere in between 800 and 2,000 people who would be immediately benefited by this. This is significant now because we don't have the exact numbers of people with DACA who are moving into the state. This is already a body of people, a population that is very difficult to actually get numbers on for very obvious reasons. But we believe that that's the number that we're looking at. And again, we need more clear numbers. And I know that there are excellent organizations, some of whose members are present here in this room, who are working on getting that definitive data for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee. Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing forward this language. I want to make sure I'm understanding, though, the in-state tuition question, because I'm hearing different things outside of this room. If it is a student that graduates from a school outside of our state, comes to one of our schools, how long do they have to be a resident of our state to be able to get the in-state tuition? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 year? And I just want to make sure that we've got that kind of on the record.
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman, for that question. So as the way this bill is written and the intent of this bill is it'll be 12 months, 1 year, just like anybody else. But there's an added component here. You would have to take one of the high school equivalency tests, whether it's the high set or the GED, to actually qualify for and become eligible for the in-state tuition rate. But it would be 12 months, not 24, 36, 12. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I may ask a follow-up, for people that are not DACA recipients, do they also have to take this sort of test? And I don't know if you're the right person to ask, or if somebody from the Nevada System of Higher Ed, and how long do they have to be residents of our state to be able to get the in-state tuition?
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you again for that follow-up question, Assemblywoman. So the residency requirement is 12 months. I know that there's and I think the chancellor would be the better person to ask here, but I think there's like an opportunity for folks to just be tested on a random basis. You know, it's not you have to take the test, but you could take the test. UNLV, I know, has this policy in place, UNR, but I would invite the chancellor to go ahead and answer this question in a more thorough fashion if he's still available there.
Thank you, Mr. De Silva. For the record, I'm Dale Urquiaga. Thank you, Ms. Anderson, for your question. So, yeah, I want to be clear here. If a person who is not on deferred status moves to Nevada from Georgia, in 12 months, they will be a resident for our tuition purposes. Under this bill, they now have another path to take the high school equivalency test, and that would put them in the another what's considered a tuition equity rule. If a person who is on deferred status moves to Nevada today, they'll never be eligible under our current application of the federal law that sits on top of our statutes and our policy at the board level. So what the Assemblyman is doing in this bill is providing that pathway of, first pathway, take the high school equivalency test, and then you're in. That's a new pathway if I've moved to Nevada. But the larger issue is subsection 5, and I think as amended subsection 5 and 6 of this measure, so that folks on deferred action would have this path forward, assuming we can all get through our hurdles over the lawyers, like the kind gentleman to my left. Listen, I've talked to 3 lawyers about this, and I've been given 5 options for this bill, as has the Assemblyman. So that just tells you a lot about lawyers. It tells you also why my hair is white. So we're going to get it right. But that, Ms. Anderson, is the answer to your question. If we don't do this, we'll be in this place where those on deferred action can never become residents, which seems like an oxymoron if they've lived here for 5 years. So I get it. But it's the federal law that we are up against.
Thank you so much, both of you, for that clarification. I thought it was a year residency, but then I was told on the way in, no, it's 2 years. And then somebody just texted me, no, it's 3 years. So thank you for that clarification about the year of residency.
We'll go to Assemblyman Koenig and then Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch.
So I think I misunderstood my colleague from the North's question here, but what I heard and what I wanted to hear answered was, so say I live in California and I move to Nevada. I've got to wait a year to become a resident, but do I have to take a GED or the equivalent test to be able to become a resident? I mean, we talked the DACA people do, but as if I was moved to state, would I have to take that?
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman, for your question. If you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident with a legal permanent resident, then you wouldn't have to take a test. You could move in and more than likely you're good to go 90% of the time. You just have to show that you've been living in Nevada for 12 months, and then you get the in-state tuition break. And
Thank you.
That's really it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this critical bill. I have had and continue to have many undocumented students who are brilliant and absolutely should be going to higher ed and can't because they can't afford it. I echo my colleagues that I'd actually like to expand it to all my undocumented students, regardless of status, but I understand that the needle that you are trying to thread. What I would like to know is what other states have done. Are there any other states that are trying to thread this needle like we are doing?
That is Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman, for your question. That is a very good question, a very important question. I know that there are many states who are also struggling with this issue here. What do we do with folks now who have attained a deferred action status, who have moved out of their home state and been living in their new state for years now? What do we do? I know that we would be a pioneer state in this effort. From what I've heard now, this is very recent, this sort of like these laws that are coming into fray, that Washington State and Arkansas may have some opportunity for somebody who has moved into the state without establishing a residency nexus based upon high school graduation to then be eligible for in-state tuition. But we would be among the first states in the country to actually have this sort of an opportunity and access for some of our most vulnerable populations. I think those with deferred action immigration status in this country. Thank you. Thank you, Assemblywoman.
Committee, any other questions? Okay, with that, we will have you sit back. And as I said, we will open it up to Las Vegas for testimony in support. So if you guys want to fill in those seats in Las Vegas, and we will go to you all first and begin when you are ready.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is David Beltran Barajas, David Beltran Barajas. I'm the immigrant rights organizer with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. I'm also a lifelong resident of Las Vegas, and a current resident of Assembly District 21 and Senate District 12. And I'm here in support of Assembly Bill 226. I'm an immigrant and a DACA recipient, and I'm lucky in the sense that I've lived here all my life and graduated from Clark County School District. While I couldn't go to college myself due to my own financial constraints, it's important to me that other DACA recipients who are taking the path to higher education get the opportunity to do so without incurring costly out-of-state fees. Allowing DACA recipients from out of state to apply for in-state tuition will only raise the quality of life and economic potential of our state. These folks have chosen to live in the state for the long haul and should be eligible to benefit from fair education costs. Nevada would be showing the rest of the nation that we value our immigrant communities and choose to provide the tools needed so all Nevadans can attain a greater quality of life. As of right now, at CSN, the average tuition is around $1,500 for a semester. If you're an out-of-state DACA recipient, you're paying close to $6,000. This can delay graduation dates or put students in a difficult position of choosing between taking classes, paying rent, or ensuring their families have food. I want Nevada to be a strong state with strong people, and AB 226 would ensure that we stand out in our country as a place for all Americans to attain a good quality of life. I urge you to support AB 226. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We'll stay in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Nevada Assembly Education Committee. Thank you so much for the privilege of speaking to you today. My name is Sebastian Cardenas. I'm here speaking as a constituent of Assembly District 28 in support of Assembly Bill 226. I'm a UNLV student. I'm a CCSD educator. I am a small business owner and employer. And most importantly to this bill, I'm a DACA recipient who couldn't be any of those things if it wasn't for access to in-state tuition. As a high school senior in CCSD, I found myself fighting for a better future for my family and my community through education. Despite hundreds of hours of community service and an outstanding GPA under my belt, I had no access to federal student aid or student loans. Because of citizenship requirements, the merit-based UNLV valedictorian and Engelstad scholarships were the only scholarships I was eligible for, which were substantial enough to help me continue my education. I had to graduate first in my class to be able to afford to go to school, and even then, if it wasn't for my eventual access to in-state tuition, that still wouldn't have been enough. It is already difficult enough for dreamers to afford to go to school without the added obstacle of out-of-state tuition prices. I work tirelessly every day to get our most vulnerable students the support and mentorship they need to succeed in the classroom and in life. There are so many dreamers in our state with the same passion to help our communities who simply weren't fortunate enough to be in Nevada at the time of their high school graduation. They deserve the same chance to reach their full potential and contribute the most they can to our state. The fiscal note submitted for this bill makes it clear that there wouldn't be any significant negative budgetary impact from the expansion of in-state tuition access to all Nevada dreamers as long as it's within federal guidelines. As mentioned before, non-passage of this bill would only result in limiting the development of Nevada's workforce in a time where we are facing critical staff shortages in places such as our schools and our hospitals. I humbly ask that you all please do what is best in the interest of all Nevadans by working to pass Assembly Bill 226. Thank you so much again for all your time and consideration.
Next person in Las Vegas.
My name is Mariana Sarmiento, for the record, M-A-R-I-A-N-A, Sarmiento, S-A-R-M-I-E-N-T-O. As a higher education professional, I've worked in Nevada with undocumented students for about 9 years. Passing AB 226 is not only the right thing to do by Nevadans, it's also the smart thing to do. In these 9 years, I've worked with hundreds of undocumented students and hundreds of professionals who serve our students in Nevada colleges. And if there's one issue that's especially frustrating is the inaccessibility of in-state tuition for this population we're working with today, that call Nevada home and who didn't graduate from a high school in our state. I've met countless students that would benefit from this bill. These include graduate and professional students who want to advance mastery of their academic and technical skills in our state, but who choose not to continue their education here because they can't pay out-of-state tuition, which is 3 times higher than in-state tuition. I've met students who've lived in Nevada for decades and want a chance at contributing to the state, but choose not to continue college because they can't afford tuition payments. And no, there's no chance at ever getting in-state tuition, regardless of how long they've lived here. And I've met students who persevere anyway and take part-time classes to avoid the $7,000 non-resident fee that's applied to out-of-state students. But it's at the cost of graduating in a longer period of time and delaying their careers. We need professionals in our labor force now, not later. When we deny access to affordable education, we're rejecting students and their potential and current contributions to our state. Why would we choose to reject students who want to build Nevada up? Why, in the middle of a labor and skilled worker shortage, are we rejecting individuals who want to contribute to our state? AB 226 is about education, but it's also about equity. It's about advancing our state. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll come up to Vegas for 3. Come up to Carson
Hello,
City.
Chair, members of...
Oh, sorry. I apologize. We're going to come up to Carson City for 3, and then we'll come right back down to you. Sorry.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I appreciate you and echo many of the remarks that have been made. I acknowledge I also serve as a Nevada Promise Scholarship mentor and have done that for a number of years, and that I have supported students who have had challenges. I'd like to specifically call out a student who recently shared with me that his brother was in another state, and while he was here receiving supports, was asking how I could support his brother. I told him I wasn't certain how I could do that. He expressed being overwhelmed because his family would need to decide which child they would be able to support in college. That was very overwhelming to me. I will also acknowledge, as Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch has mentioned, being a teacher in the classroom, I have worked primarily with families that are not legally in the United States and who are looking for support, who want a better future for their children, and who are asking us for support. I support Assembly Bill 226 and ask that you do the same. Thank you.
I'm not sure you said your name. If you could
I am
just...
so sorry. My name is Dr. Tanya Homestead, and I'm a National Award Certified Teacher and also the Executive Director for Teach Plus Nevada. Thank you
very much. Next.
Good afternoon. My name is Tessie Angel. It is spelled Teissyangel. I am a proud student of College of Southern Nevada, member of the Student Club Generational Dreamers at CSN, and a member of Make the Road Nevada. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico. My parents brought me and my identical twin to the U.S. to achieve the American dream. Sorry. I have DACA, Deferred Action of Childhood Arrival. I identify as a dreamer. I moved from California in 2020, and I now reside in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am here to stay. I moved here to assist my mother because she had an abdominal mass tumor. I try my best to manage my full-time phlebotomy job, part-time studies, and to be an inspection site senator with CSN and a student government position. Because of my economic struggles, I can only afford to attend part-time. Attending full-time is a blessing in my humble perspective. When I applied at CSN to receive my EMT certification, I was asked to pay $6,831. Because I do not qualify for in-state tuition, I was blessed to obtain scholarships that cover my majority of my tuition because of my 3.5 GPA and my volunteer efforts in the community. This is why I am here to lobby for Assembly Bill 226. We need your support to increase quality, equity, and access when it comes to applying for in-state tuition. Students like me should not have to worry about paying additional $5,000 per semester out of pocket. Students like me that do not qualify for most aid, like financial aid and scholarships that are very limited. We should be able to focus in our studies. If this law passes, I will be able to work part-time and attend school full-time in order to graduate from CSN on time. My goal is to transfer to UNLV or Nevada State. Thank you for your consideration of our students and our active community members.
Thank you. And if you would submit your written comments, that would be appreciated. We're going to stay in Carson City. I'm going to take the 2 down in Las Vegas, and then we're going to have to go to the phone lines because we are running out of time. But please, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Chair. My name is Lalo Montoya, Lalomontoya, and right now I serve as a Community Engagement Manager at Make Thorough, Nevada. I manage a staff of 10. I have DACA as well, and I'm one of those who was the first to graduate from high school without legal status. I'm those that you all talk about the average age being 28. Well, I'm 36, and you know, I can see 40 from here. I reached that plateau, but you know, I have experienced the hopelessness that's caused by out-of-state tuition policies. I graduated in Colorado, and I do remember how it felt to tell the college counselor that I wanted to be a teacher, be a broadcaster, and them telling me out-of-state tuition laws were going to impact me in that way. And it does stifle our dreams of obtaining a higher education because of the economic burden. It was 2005 that I graduated from high school. I was the first in my family, and I was able to earn private scholarships at that time to attend community college. However, the cost was still too high. I was not prepared for college at that time. And since then, the real world has provided me the opportunities to now work for national organizations, continue to share my story, open opportunities. I was there when we demanded that President Obama pass the DACA and DAPA program, and we won. And it's when I started a business because I took President Obama's words to heart. He said, you know, we're going to provide opportunities for these folks so they can start businesses and contribute to the economy. And I feel like I have done that my whole life. And we have an opportunity right now. Not much has changed, and we have an opportunity to pass a law like this that I believe is a step in the right direction. We're experiencing these staff shortages, we're experiencing so many challenges, and I have lived in Nevada for the past 7 years. So I want to take my shot one more time and achieve that degree and be the first in my family to do it. So please support AB 226.
Thank you for the testimony. We'll go to the 2 in Las Vegas. We have, I believe, about 8 more minutes. Roughly. Okay. Vegas.
Well, hello, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Kevin Osorio Hernandez, a first-generation student majoring in history at Nevada State, and I'm also a student leader in the student government. And so I'd like to voice my support for AB 226. And you know, it is my belief that education is a human right, and it is crucial to the success of our collective future. And so again, this is a matter of equity and giving documented individuals the option to gain access to in-state tuition is vital to their success. And you know, again, this is a matter of equity, so please support AB 226. Thank you.
The next
Hello,
person.
members of the committee. My name's Cesar Marquez, CESARMARQUEC, and I'm currently serving as the chair of the Nevada Forward Party. I also reside in 8031, so you guys will see me up there pretty soon. And I'm here to speak in support of AB 226 because this bill will do a lot of good for the people in Nevada. You know, we also want to thank Assemblyman Ruben Da Silva for putting forth this bill. Now, I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and being able to say that alone saved me from a bunch of obstacles and hardships in my life. But I have a lot of cousins, friends, people close to me, and you saw some of them that aren't so lucky, right? And as a child of Mexican immigrants, you know, education was the way out of poverty for me, like so many others. My degree in industrial engineering from Purdue University in Indiana enabled me to get a job at the Tesla Gigafactory as a production supervisor up in Sparks, and that's how I came to, you know, live in Nevada. And that changed my life forever, and I was able to live my version of the American dream. But as I look around, I see those opportunities disappearing, particularly for people who have similar backgrounds like mine. We need to create a level playing field so that everyone, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to succeed. To me, that's, you know, the American dream, and that's why I strongly support AB 226. Now, this is not just about fairness and equity. This is also just simple math and economics. You know, studies show, and we just heard the numbers, that college graduates earn more money, they pay more in taxes, and they're likely, you know, to even need less public assistance. By providing access to education, we can strengthen our workforce, and Nevada will make that money back. You know, these kids, and now young adults, or adults, you know, they love this country just as much as I do, as much as you do, and they just want to participate and contribute. You know, us taking away that, or you taking away that from them, does not help anyone, including your own constituents. So please, I urge you to consider the economic benefits, but also, you know, the moral imperative of providing pathway to succeed for all Nevadans. So please support AB 226. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the phone lines for 3 calls. BPS.
Callers, to testify in support of AB 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
So I think that this is a complete no-brainer. I want to first say thank you to all those immigrants that are working hard to make Nevada and Las Vegas the #1 hospitality and tourist destination in the world. It is a no-brainer to allow these young folks that have committed no crimes, who all they want to do is better themselves, which means better economic development for our state. In-state tuition is a no-brainer. I commend our assemblymen for bringing this forward. It is so long overdue. Forget about words like dignity and compassion, although those are very important. This is economic development. When we help young people better their education, we help our country be better. We commend this bill, and the Latin Chamber of Commerce is in full support. Thank you.
Next caller in support.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
You're very faint, but we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Yvette Machado Tenier, and I'm here in support of AB 226 because it's an obvious next step in the right direction. I wish to acknowledge the courage and vulnerability that my fellow Nevadans have shown today in their testimonies. I know that it is not easy for you, and I thank you for coming forward. As a nationally recognized scholar in our higher education system, I've learned that Nevada suffers something called brain drain, which describes Nevada's historic and current trajectory of our greatest academics leaving Nevada to utilize their talent elsewhere. This is just one indicator of the stigma that Nevada is trying to break free from, which has come from being a state that ranks egregiously low in educational priorities. We're just not doing enough to keep people committed to our state and put their best talent forward in our communities. AB 226 incentivizes Nevadans and with academic promise to stay here and grow here regardless of immigration status. If we look at the issues of equity and access, it's obvious why we should move forward. But when we look at reasons as to why this would help Nevada, well, this could stop the bleeding of brain drain, or better yet, it could help those who haven't even realized their full academic potential to become our greatest scholars. Incentivizing more Nevadans to pursue higher education will only boost our socioeconomic health and build a better Nevada. Students who seek higher education, especially those who migrate to this country, have gratitude on their sleeves and pursue higher education for more than just themselves. I speak for my community when I say that any student that is DACA eligible or has TPS seeks education to develop our families, our communities, and our country. We pursue education with a love that can only be felt by those who carry their hopes, dreams, and futures on the mere tips of their fingers, always aware of how easily it can fall out of grasp. I'm certain that the students affected by this bill appreciate this opportunity to move forward because we grow up learning that the promise of America is met when you take the opportunities that you're given and use them not just for yourself, but to better your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, and this country. I assure you that creating more access to education will only bring forth Nevadans who are rigorously hardworking, intelligent, and have a unique grit to succeed. I know this because I'm part of this community. I support this community, and AB 226 will only propel our state forward. So I urge you to support this bill with me to create the most reasonable access for these students in Nevada, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And we are over our 20 minutes, but I do realize that you guys came down and want to testify. So if we could go to Vegas, I know we're going to lose you. If you could just say your name and say you are in support, and we will make sure we have it for the record. And then please feel free to give any of those comments, and we can put them up as well. Make sure that all our members get those copies. So if we could start in Las Vegas, if you could just say your name and that you're in support.
Hi there, Nayeli Rico Lopez, in support of AB 226.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, Amy Palmer, and I am in support of AB 226.
And finally.
Hello, I'm Reina Ferrufino, and I am strongly in favor of AB 226.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And if we could do the same thing here in Carson City.
Hello, my name is Noel Benjeloun. For the record, that is just Nourbenjelloun, and I am in support of AB 226. Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Ramos, and I support Bill AB 226. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janet Nahera on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, undocumented student advocate, and I am in support of AB 226.
Okay. I see some other people filling. We are over our time. If you just want to say your names really quickly, I will do that. Do we have 3 new people in Las Vegas, or you guys are still same people? Okay. Okay, we're going to go, and then we are going to have to close support, and like I said, I'm happy to take written testimony, and I will make sure that my members receive that.
Hi, I'm Katia Sotelo. For the record, I am with Make the Road Nevada, and I am in support.
Paul Catha, Culinary Workers Union Local 226, in support.
Tony Ramirez with Make the Road, in support. Thank you.
Thank you, and we are going to have to close support testimony at this time, and then we are going to open it up to opposition. Do we have any testimony in opposition? I'm not seeing anyone come up. Any opposition in Las Vegas? Anyone, BPS on the phone lines in opposition?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to AB 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is CYRUS HOJJATY. We'd like to thank the Assemblyman for bringing this bill. And the reason I don't support it, first of all, I feel like this bill is going to be probably misleading. There was another bill in the last session that gave unauthorized immigrants reduced college tuition, even though the title of the bill did not say so. So I feel like this might be deceitful. I don't see this as fair. We're going to expand taxpayer resources to people who did not follow our immigration laws. It is unfair. In fact, what we should be doing is instead expanding subsidies to other more qualified Americans, or just reducing tuition entirely. So why do we have to get some subsidies and pay the rest of it? DACA was an unconstitutional, illegal executive order by Barack Obama. The D in DACA means deferred, which is to postpone. And in addition to being unfair, what if we have somebody tomorrow, given the border crisis we have now, and in a long matter of time, they may be able to qualify for this benefit? Now, nobody has still given me a clear reason why this state has among the highest rate of unauthorized immigrants in the state. I've had pleasant conversations with former Senator Mo Dennis, but I wish to hear more from you. I also don't trust organizations who are testifying, which I've seen Craigslist ads that are paying them to testify. And let's not just stop there. I believe in the long term, their demands will increase. Pretty soon they will demand fully subsidized college tuition, while others will still have to pay. And speaking of pay, who is going to pay for this? Is our taxes going to go up? Can you at least tax casinos because they pay the lowest gaming taxes in the country? Have we seen that California has given them so many benefits, and now people and so many companies are leaving the state and coming here? Will the Federal Reserve create dollars out of thin air just to bail out this state? Have you ever thought of the fiscal impact? So either don't support this bill or make some significant changes. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
BPS, anyone else in opposition?
Chair, there are no more callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Okay, and with that, we will close opposition testimony and open it to neutral testimony. Do we have anyone in Vegas in neutral? I'm not seeing anyone. Anyone here in Carson City? I'm not seeing anyone. Anyone on the phone lines in neutral?
Callers, if you would like to testify in neutral for AB 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Okay, we will close testimony in neutral, and I'll invite the bill sponsor to come back up for some final remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ruben De Silva for the record. You know, I had some closing remarks that I was going to read off of a paper, but I think, especially after hearing some of the opposition statements that came in, I'm going to speak a little bit more here from the heart. I myself was a undocumented person in this country, you know, for many years. You know, I had family members, my own mother, who was going to be removed from this country, from our home, from Las Vegas. And we got a deferred action statement from a judge, took sympathy on our case, and allowed us to stay in this country and in this beautiful state that I have the honor and I'm humbled to serve as an assemblyman. If it wasn't for that deferred action, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have been able to serve this country as a Marine, wouldn't be able to shed blood, and I'll do it again if need be. My two brothers, one of whom was also undocumented, today is serving as an intelligence officer in the United States Army, protecting this country. He was, quote unquote, deemed illegal in the 1990s. And, you know, my family is Indian. And I know the gentleman who spoke here, his family comes from Persia. And there's an important story in our traditions, both of our traditions, that kind of addresses this. When there was a group of people called the Parsis who were being persecuted and removed from Persia, they came to India in the 1600s, looking for refuge, looking for asylum, looking for an opportunity to find a new home. So there was an issue. They weren't allowed to come in because there were folks there, you know, in India who said, we don't want these people here. They're different. We don't have room for them. We already are struggling with our own issues, and we just can't have them come here. And there was a language issue that they couldn't communicate properly. So in a very diplomatic way, the local king sent a cup back to the boats that were waiting offshore with a milk with a glass full of milk, saying, we're too full. We have our own issues here. We can't let you in. Okay, so the emissary bought that cup back and presented it to the king and said, take a sip. The king took a sip, and he was surprised to find that it was sweetened. That individual from Persia now coming into India had added sugar into the cup, and they immediately got the message. We're not overfilling your land. We're going to sweeten it and make it better. And this is one of the core things that I want to emphasize about this bill, specifically in regards to deferred action and in-state tuition. We know that according to every single indicator out there, every single fact, every single data, forward.us is doing some excellent studies, even the USCIS is doing excellent studies about this. Those individuals who received deferred action, DACA being an excellent example of this, all right, we're seeing now that they're making 5 times as much in terms of personal income as what they were supposed to have made without receiving this benefit, 5 times as much. And primarily a reason for that is they can work and they can go to school. So my overarching argument here, and this is one of the real reasons why this state needs this bill, is that this is going to spur our economy. These individuals who want to work hard and who have already proven, as a Tess Angel showed over here, that they're willing to even still, perform all the sacrifices required to get that degree and to make the American dreams possible. This bill is good, great for the individuals who will now be able to access and afford a college education at an in-state rate after living here for years. This is their new home. And it will also, in the end, by every single measure out there, every single point of data shows it'll benefit our economy. And with that said, if you have any final questions, I'm willing to take those. If not, Madam Chair, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that personal story. So that's a great one. I think with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 226. Thank you very much, and we will come to our next agenda item, which is public comment. Anyone here in Carson City in public comment? And I know we no longer have Las Vegas online, so I will go to broadcast. Is there anyone on the phone lines that wishes to make public comment?
Callers, if you would like to provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Okay. So we will, I guess that is it. We will be meeting here again on Thursday. And just a reminder that we will most likely recess on Thursday and then come back in the evening. So just be prepared for that. With that, our meeting is adjourned.